A new era of sound has arrived. The Sonos Era 100 and Era 300 are finally here, and we were able to get our hands on them before they launched to put them through their paces and help you decide if these are the right speakers for you. Now, I want to start off by going over some of the new features that both of these speakers share, and then I'll talk about the performance in different music and home theater setups. Now, right off the bat, one of the most notable changes is the inclusion of Bluetooth. And yes, you heard me, Bluetooth. Now, throughout the years, Sonos has been reluctant to adopt Bluetooth as Wi-Fi. It offers superior audio quality, and it eliminates the risk of interruptions from calls or notifications that you might get on your phone. And I'd still recommend using Wi-Fi when you can, especially since these new speakers support Wi-Fi 6, which will be even more reliable than ever before. However, Bluetooth adds an undeniable convenience for friends and family to easily pair their phones to the Era 100 or 300 without downloading the Sonos app or logging into your Wi-Fi. And for both of these, you also have Apple AirPlay as usual if you prefer that streaming method instead. Certainly, Bluetooth is a huge addition, and it wouldn't have happened without Sonos actually listening to what their customers have been begging for these past years. Now, this next feature is one that we here at Audio Advice and so many others have been interested in for quite some time. Now, currently, only the Sonos 5 has a 3.5mm line in, so you can plug in a different source like a turntable with an RCA to 3.5mm adapter, and this is a super popular setup for those who want to enjoy vinyl with a Sonos product. Well, now the Sonos Era 100 and 300 both have line in via USB-C. The adapters will be sold separately, but being able to use a USB-C to RCA adapter to listen to records is a very exciting feature for both of these, especially with the recent boom in new vinyl lovers. Moving on to Sonos' room calibration software, Truplay. If you own a Sonos soundbar, you've probably used the Sonos app to wave your phone around and calibrate it for the specific environment that it's in. Now, the only caveat has been that Truplay, you do need an iOS device, so if you have an Android, you've been out of luck until now. They've added a new feature available on iOS and Android, which is called Quick Tuning. This uses the microphones on the speakers to detect the surroundings and tune it to your specific room. Now, this won't be as effective as the traditional or advanced Truplay, but it's a big step forward that I'm sure Android users will enjoy until the full Truplay is available for them. When you take a look at both these units, right at the top, you're going to see you still have those capacitive touch buttons for play, pause, next, and previous. Now, in the old version, you needed to slide your finger across the top to change the volume, which to me always felt a bit clunky and wasn't really the easiest to use. Now, Sonos has added what they're calling a volume trough that is a groove on the top that you can easily find without even looking at the speaker to slide the volume up and down with haptic feedback. This new feature is way more intuitive and easy to find the exact volume that you actually want. Now, above that is a small speech bubble with an LED indicator light that will tell you if the voice services are active or not. To ensure privacy, Sonos has added a small physical button on the back of both of the speakers to turn off these features if you wish. Now, you still have the Sonos Voice Assistant and Amazon Alexa, but Google Assistant has been removed for now. Alright, now that we've discussed some of the key updates in these speakers, let's dig into this Era 100. Now, this speaker is the latest iteration of the Sonos One Gen 2, which has clearly undergone a dramatic transformation since the original Sonos Play 1 that was released over 10 years ago. It's a new modern design that is slightly taller and thinner, and when looking down from the top, it's much more round than it is square. The grille wraps almost all the way around with very thin bezels on the top and bottom, and there's also a screw hole on the bottom to support Sonos' new floor stands or wall mounts. To top off the new design, the grill holes are now pinholes, similar to the Arc and the 5, which I personally prefer much more than the elongated holes that were on the previous Sonos One. When you look inside, you'll find two angled tweeters instead of one, along with the custom waveguides that Sonos has designed to disperse the sound waves for an even wider stereo soundstage. Now, going from mono sound in the Sonos One to stereo sound in the Era 100 is a big deal that will definitely deliver a more detailed and immersive sound that we will discuss how relevant is in a little bit. The midwoofer has also been upgraded to be about 25% larger and is now a more oval shape that takes advantage of filling up as much room as possible inside the speaker. Now, moving to a larger woofer should equal more dynamic and richer sound. In fact, Sonos' lead audio engineer claims that the bass extension is doubled when you turn it all the way up compared to the Sonos One. Now, these are all powered by 3 Class D amps that Sonos has designed to be meticulously tuned to the new unique acoustic architecture. Additionally, they've squeezed in a 47% faster processor and a new co-neural processor, which for you means faster voice assistant features and improved energy efficiency. But how does the Sonos Era 100 perform? Now, during our testing, we were blown away by the clarity and the depth in the mid-range. Now, this is largely thanks to those two-angled tweeters that create that stereo sound. In terms of low end, compared to the Sonos One Gen 2, the Era 100 was much more powerful and deeper sounding too. When they paired together to make a stereo pair, the Era 100s again had a little bit more effortless sound with a wider soundstage, and the separation of instruments was just a bit more prevalent. Now, adding a subwoofer to the mix took the sound to a whole new level. Filling in those low-end frequencies and leaving the mid-range to shine with clear artist vocals, they were just warm and lively and sounded really, really good. Now, we also tested the Era 100s as rear speakers in a home theater setup with the Sonos Arc. And while they performed well, we didn't see this as a significant upgrade if you currently have the Sonos One Gen 2s as your rear speakers right now. Once you put them in a home theater, you do lose the functionality of the new touch controls, and you most likely won't be using the line-in feature or Bluetooth, so you really only gain that slightly better sound, which for most people really won't be worth the extra upgrade. But if you do want to upgrade your current pair of Sonos One Gen 2 speakers that you use in your family room or kitchen, these new features will definitely come in handy, so that's a situation where we see the upgrade is warranted. Moving on to the speaker that I'm really excited about is the Sonos Era 300. Now, this one is brand new to the lineup and sits between the Sonos Era 100 and Sonos 5. Now, the Sonos Era 300 is their first Dolby Atmos enabled speaker with dedicated up-firing drivers with a brand new unique hourglass design that really stands out from the rest of the Sonos speaker family. The Era 300 is equipped with 6 Class D amps with 4 total tweeters. Now, there's one facing forward for the center imaging, one on each side to spread the sound and create a wider soundstage and add better stereo separation, and then there's one placed in a directional horn on the top, firing upward to bounce the height sound effects and spatial audio evenly throughout your room. Now, to further optimize the stereo playback, there are 2 force-canceling woofers placed on each side to minimize vibrations to produce a consistent and satisfying low end. Now, Sonos' lead acoustic engineer on the Era 300 explained that these placements were very intentional with new precision waveguides to properly fill your room with spatial audio. Now, they spent a lot of time designing this intricate acoustic architecture to accentuate every angle, proportion, and perforation to optimize the direction and dispersion of the sound, making the Era 300 fill your room with full and rich sound. Another thing that's truly exciting about Sonos' debut of their first ever spatial audio speaker is the unwavering conviction of their CEO, Patrick Spence, who views it as the future of music production. Now, in fact, they've taken the initiative to provide Era 300 speakers to production studios worldwide, enabling them to accurately experience how spatial audio music might sound in a customer's home. These speakers will work on a bookshelf, a TV credenza, or on their custom floor stands or wall mounts. And we started out by listening to spatial audio music tracks on the Era 300, which was surprisingly fun. While it's not quite the same as a full Dolby Atmos home theater with 6 dedicated in-ceiling speakers, which we totally were not expecting it to be, it definitely filled the room with a way more immersive experience than any of the stereo soundtracks that we tried. Now, currently, to do the testing, we used Amazon Music HD, which was the only music service at the time that supported spatial audio, but at this time, Apple Music is now available as well. With the Dolby Atmos turned on, the up-firing driver really filled the room with a more 3D immersive soundstage, no matter where you were actually standing in the room. With Dolby Atmos turned off, sitting directly in front of the speaker was the best spot to enjoy that stereo soundstage. So we actually see the spatial audio feature not only being really neat for immersion, but also for filling your room with more sound if you're having a party where people are constantly moving around the room. And when we paired 2 of them together, it wasn't 2 times more immersive, it was actually more like 10 times more immersive. This allowed us to use them as a stereo pair with forward-facing tweeters, and the second up-firing driver seemed to just fill the gaps in the height channels with a more effortless, punchy sound. Now, add a sub, and this is a really fun music setup that we guarantee you're gonna get lost in your favorite Dolby Atmos soundtracks. Now, we really wanted to test these in a home theater setup, and we were a little disappointed to see that pairing 2 of the Era 300s together is not an option. We think this would be a really cool setup instead of a soundbar, but for now, you're gonna need an Atmos-enabled soundbar like the Beam Gen 2 or the Arc to utilize the Era 300s in a theater setup. So we opted for the Sonos Arc, and we placed 2 Era 300s as rears on each side. Now, this is just a mind-bending setup for Sonos, and we've never been able to experience anything like this before from them. So using the Sonos One or the Sonos Era 100s as rears, they're not going to add any additional Atmos channels. However, adding 2 Era 300s to the ARC will bring the channel count from 7.0.2 to 7.0.4. Add in a subwoofer or two and it will make it 7.1.4 home theater setup, which is just amazing. Now Sonos has said that 7.1.4 is the max channel setup, even though you can add 2 subs because they're not discrete channels. But still, this is a truly amazing setup from Sonos that's really going to blow your mind with a good Dolby Atmos movie. So we wanted to try out some of our favorite Dolby Atmos movie scenes from our previous video that we'll link in the description below. And wow, this setup really rocks. We will go as far as to say that it may be the best soundbar setup with wireless rears that we've actually ever tested. The height effects were just brilliantly recreated and the overall surround sound was realistic and immersive. Nothing sounded small or harsh, and adding the extra Atmos channels in the back of the room made the car zooms in movies like 6 Underground just fly across your ceiling and feel like you almost needed to duck to get out of the way. Now in the movie A Quiet Place, when there's a monster about to creep downstairs, it's like you can almost point to where exactly in the room above you that the monster is with pinpoint accuracy. It's a really fun experience. Now, if you prefer listening to stereo music and you want to pair 2 of them together to listen to vinyl or any traditional soundtrack, definitely go with the Sonos 5s. They have just a lot more bass in them and they're very clean and smooth sounding that we think really does beat 2 of the Era 300s in a stereo setup. But if you want just one of them, we think the Era 300 is the way to go and you can start experimenting with spatial audio tracks. Yes, the 5 will sound better side by side, but in our testing it really was minimal, and the spatial audio option, along with the new Bluetooth and other new features, just beat out the 5 in our opinion. If you don't care about Atmos and you just want the very best sound, then just stick to the Sonos 5. Now for rears, if you have the Sonos One Gen 2s already and you're looking to upgrade, we recommend going with the Era 300s instead of the 100s, as it probably won't be as big of a step up for the price. However, the 300s are noticeably more powerful and add 2 extra height channels to make it well worth your extra money. In fact, it's in our opinion that if it's in your budget, we really have to say the Era 300s perform perfectly as rears with their up-firing drivers. Now what's even cooler is that you could technically mount them up high in your wall with the wall mounts and put them upside down and have the up-firing speaker fire down at you and have the speakers totally out of the way, which is a super cool feature. Our ultimate home theater setup would be the Sonos Arc, 2 Era 300s as rears and 2 sub Gen 3s for that 7.1.4 setup. Now it is not cheap, but the sound quality is up to par for the price, and you'll have the ease of mind knowing that Sonos has crafted high quality products that they have built to last and will continue to be supported. I hope this video has given you a good insight into these new Sonos speakers. If you're still struggling to decide which one's best for you in your home, reach out to our team of experts by phone or chat with us at audioadvice.com, and an expert would be happy to help you out. And if you want to help support our channel, consider purchasing from Audio Advice, where we have free shipping, a price guarantee, and lifetime support. Now, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and turn on those notifications so you don't miss any of our latest and upcoming content. Now, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.